Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. For those of you who are new, welcome. My name is Sammy. I'm a women's health coach, a registered dietitian, and a fit model competitor. If you're watching this episode, you probably read the title and you know it's a very different topic than what I usually talk about. But this is a side of me that I haven't really shared much with you guys, and I don't feel like I can be my authentic self if I don't share a little bit more about my beliefs, about my religion, and how I incorporate my beliefs into a sport that can very easily be portrayed as a very not religious sport. I mean, bodybuilding has been seen as narcissistic, it can be seen as prideful, it can be seen as very self-centered. So I'm going to share a little bit about my own faith. I'm going to share a little bit about how I incorporate my faith into a sport that I do love dearly and how it can still be a battle. Like, I'm not saying I have all the kinks worked out, but I want to share how I practice my religion and still compete as a bodybuilder, with making the focus of my sport God-centered versus self-centered, which is very easy for bodybuilding to do. So let's dive right into today's topic. So first of all, a little background. I am a Christian. I was not always a Christian. I was brought up Catholic. I was brought up going to Catholic school, practicing very standard Roman Catholic practices. I went to Catholic school until about middle school, and my parents unfortunately couldn't afford it anymore, so then I transitioned to public school. At that time, I still continued with CCD, which is Bible studies on the weekends, one class a week, and I found myself slowly starting to drift away from Jesus, from God, and from my faith as I crept into those teenage years. I was very rebellious. I was in a very bad mind space and a very bad headspace, and it's definitely a time where I rejected God the most, and I didn't incorporate him into my life at all. This continued into my early 20s, which I tried to dabble with other belief systems and practicing other beliefs, but I never felt the completeness I felt when I was younger, when I was in church, and when I was practicing. So fast forward to my mid-20s, I start dating my partner, Austin, my fiance, soon-to-be husband, and I meet this man, and I think he's religious. I don't really know. We don't really talk about beliefs, but all I could think is after we met is God put you in my life to be my life partner. I don't have a better explanation for that, because he is everything I've ever looked for in a person and so much more. And it's funny because I got this feeling that I wanted to, start going back to church, start going back to my faith, and start going back to things that were very important to me at a very young age. And it could be that I was just maturing, I was just getting older, but something was definitely drawing me back to the church. So one day goes by and I'm thinking about it all day. So I go to my partner, who, again, I didn't really know their beliefs. I knew they believed in God, but they weren't really a practicing Christian or Catholic or any other denomination of Christianity. And I'm like, hey, I want to talk to you about something. And he's like, yeah, what's up? I'm like, I want to start going back to church. And it gives me chills thinking about, he literally goes to me, I had the exact same thought today, and I was going to ask you when I got home from work. So it's kind of like, you know what? We need to go. Now, we have busy schedules. You guys, if you've been following me, you know I now work 3 jobs while I'm in the transition with a new job, and I own a business. So my life is very hectic. And we were kind of like, oh, well, we'll go to church maybe, once in a while, and we'll start reading the Bible, and we'll kind of ease into things. Well, I had a client who recommended a local church, and we first started watching their live streams to kind of get a feel for the vibe of the church, feel like what the community is about, because in reality, as a Christian, community is almost everything. It's how we interact with others, it's how we practice our worship together, it's how we grow spiritually. I really wanted to focus on going to a church that I felt the community, I felt like I belonged, and we would be welcomed. So we started watching the online services and really liked the messages, really liked the pastors, and we decided to go. And we have not missed, I think, a week since, unless one week we were away on vacation. We go every single Sunday. and it has absolutely transformed our lives. So I am now a practicing Christian, and I'm very excited to share that. We actually got baptized today. I will share my video with you guys. And I am just so excited to continue on my faith journey and honestly maybe share a little bit with you guys in addition to my bodybuilding side. Now, where does bodybuilding play a role in this, right? So as I started practicing and doing Bible studies and learning just more about my faith and what it truly means to be a Christian and live a life that is, centered around Jesus, around God, I started to second guess involvement in bodybuilding, because again, it can be a very self-absorbed, self-centered sport, very prideful, and all the things that Christianity and the Bible tells you not to be. You're supposed to be humble, and you're supposed to be God-centered, and you're not supposed to be self-centered, because at the end of the day, I believe that God has a path for me. No matter what I want, what I think, He is going to guide me in that direction. So as much as I want to think I have control over my life, I don't feel that way. I do think that God has a better purpose for my life, and I'm just kind of along for the ride and doing the best that I can. Now, diving into, a self-reflection on, does my sport align with my beliefs? I was on the verge of giving up the sport completely because I don't want to do something that's completely against my belief system. I'm very passionate about being a Christian and following God and being Christ-like to the best of my ability. I am not perfect. I definitely have bad days, but that is my intention as a follower of Jesus. And I didn't think it was possible to continue to do this and follow Christ. So I started doing a very deep reflection on why I want to compete. Because if I'm up there and I'm there for the glamour and I'm there for the ego and I'm there for my own pride and I'm there to win and beat everyone out, am I really following a Christ-like life? In my opinion, no. Like, if I'm doing it for those reasons, if I'm doing it for the glory and I'm doing it for the wins and I'm doing it to be the hottest version of me, then absolutely not. I do not belong on that stage as a practicing Christian. Now, that being said, those have never been my why. And those of you who know me know I talk a lot about my why and why I start competing and why I continue to compete. And this was before I decided to follow Christ and make Him the center of my life. My why has always been because I like the discipline, because I like the drive, because I like the push, because I like how in tune with my body that I can be during a prep. You learn everything about yourself. You become very connected, mind, body, and spirit. And those are the aspects that I always liked about bodybuilding. I liked getting stronger. I liked the community. And I thought, are those aspects of Christianity? And absolutely they are. I'm actually going to share an extension of a story I've already shared in a previous video, but my last show. So I'm going to rewind. Those of you who don't know, I've been competing for 5 years, going on 6 years now. I'm new to the NPC. I've competed in multiple other federations. And this was going to be my 5th year of competing, or 6th year, I can't remember, 2019, 2025. So maybe 6th year of competing. I never won first place. I've placed really well. I've gotten in the top 2. I've gotten in the top 5. I've gotten in the top 3. I've gotten no callouts too. Like, I've done shows where I got no callouts. So this was my, 5th year doing it, half a decade in, and I still had not won. And people probably thought I was crazy when I was like, yeah, how many shows have you won? And I'm like, yeah, none at all. And I'm continuing to do this sport. And I told a lot of people I was no longer going to compete. This would be my last show. I'm getting married. We want to start a family soon. And I thought, last hurrah, let's do Fit Model and let's see where it goes. Around this time is when we started going to church and I started my Bible studies, and I really started doing a deep dive into following a life devoted to Jesus. And every night I would pray. I would pray, not that I would win, because I don't think that's very Christian-like to pray, I'm going to beat everybody else. Absolutely not. I prayed and asked God to help me be the best version of myself on stage. Help me be the best version of myself. And I prayed this every single night leading up into my show. I had never done that before because I was very disconnected with my religion and my faith in previous years. I may have prayed once or twice, that I would do well or I would do my best. But this is the first time that I prayed every single night going into a show. And this is the show that I won first place. And I prayed backstage, and I just thought, let me do the best I can do. Like, I don't want to trip. I don't need to win, but I just need to feel that I did the best I could on my last show. Because in my head, I'm done competing after this, my last show. As you guys now know, I won. Again, it was a small local show. I think maybe 15 girls. It's not like I won the Olympia. But in my video, if you look really close, I'm very teary-eyed, and it's very emotional because so much had gone into this prep. So much years have gone into this prep without me knowing it. And knowing I had God's strength in me and support in me in my final show showed me that I can do this sport and make it God-centered. Now, I'm not saying he made me win. I'm not saying that's why I won. I am just saying I went into this show with his support, with his strength, and I felt the best I could on stage, and I think that really showed, and we got the outcome we wanted. And that is what's driving me to continue to compete. Will I compete forever? I am not sure, but I do need to make sure that my core values are the priority of what God would want me to do, and following a life like Jesus, not being self-centered, not being self-absorbed, which is a challenge with bodybuilding. I think it's very easy for us to, care only about our physiques and only about our looks and only about me. And we need to take a step back, at least if you're a practicing Christian and you want to compete. And no, that is not the primary goal of my sport. My goal is discipline, which is something the Bible teaches us. It teaches us that our bodies are temples. God created each and every one of us. So prioritizing your health and fitness is absolutely okay when you're doing it for Him. You're not doing it for yourself. You're not doing it to look the best, to be the hottest, to have very self-driven motives. But I do it because I know that my health and fitness needs to be a priority because my body is His temple. Here are the ways I keep my morals aligned with what God would want me to do in having my competitive life God-centered versus self-centered. So first, I already talked a little bit about this, but having discipline and balance. Having discipline in your life with nutrition and training and recovery and sleep will only bleed into your spiritual life. If you become disciplined in the gym and with your food and saying no to temptations, that is only going to allow you to spiritually grow. I found it's made me prioritize my Bible studies. I found it's made me make sure that I am practicing what I preach. Discipline of bodybuilding has just helped me so much grow spiritually because I know I'm going to say no to all the temptations with foods. I know I'm not going to skip the gym. I'm going to have my regimen schedule, and I'm going to make sure if I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. I'm then able to take all of these characteristics and apply them just to my life as a whole. As a devoted Christian, I'm going to do my Bible studies. I'm going to church every Sunday. I'm going to talk to God throughout the day and seek His guidance, seek His help, and seek His strength when I need it, because I know at the end of the day, He is there for me. Another factor is at the end of the day, our bodies were created by God. Our bodies are God's temples. So I do think it's important to prioritize your health and fitness because He wants us to feel our best. He wants us to be strong. He wants us to take care of what He gave us. It's not to look your best. It's not to be self-absorbed and take a million selfies at the gym, although I am so guilty of taking gym selfies. The whole point of being in the sport is not to be the best version of you, and building my strength and building my physique for my sport in His name to honor the body He gave me. Again, as I mentioned earlier, I've been able to gain just such a deeper connection with myself, my mind, my body, and my spirit, especially in prep. I go through phases where I do some fasting and I'm able to control my emotions better. I'm able to think, okay, how would God want me to respond in this situation? You get very hangry in prep, and it's very easy to fly off the handle to loved ones that, didn't do anything wrong, but you're just tired, you're fatigued, and you're kind of miserable. Making God the focus of my life and making Him the focus of my prep has allowed me to create a better connection spiritually with Him, that when I want to snap, when I want to be irritable with others, I ask for His strength, and it has done wonders for my relationship. I'm currently 3 weeks into a pretty low calorie deficit. totally off topic, but because we're leaving for our trip next week, I am pre-prepping my prep, and therefore we did a pretty big drop these past few weeks to kind of get me ready for stage. I'm almost already stage lean. And that being said, hunger has been real, irritability has been real. Relying on God for the strength to stay positive, to stay motivated, to stay driven, and just stay connected with my body has done wonders for my psyche and for my ability to control my emotions and go into each day with a positive attitude. Even when I'm hungry, even when I'm tired, even when I'm weak, I still am going into it just feeling so supported and loved by him. Finally, it gives me a sense of purpose and a sense of community. I've met so many wonderful people through the fitness community that do prioritize their health and wellness, and they are not narcissistic, and they do prioritize God, and I'm just so grateful for what that community has given me. I hope to continue to spread my experience in the bodybuilding space with others, and maybe even connect with other bodybuilders that are also Christians. This doesn't seem like a really big niche to me. I have tried looking up videos on bodybuilders that are Christians and, following other women that are on a similar journey as me, and it's really hard to find. So, if you have any Christian bodybuilders that you recommend I follow, please drop them in the comments. Share their stories with me. Share your story with me if you resonate with what I'm talking about today. I'd love to build this community, and I think that's what's also really important, that I'm going to be able to connect with so many of you on just such a deeper level. Like, we have a sport that we love, yes, but we aren't doing it because we love ourselves or we're full of ourselves. We're doing it because we have a deeper purpose in our lives, and we feel this pull to go towards something more. And I do think that that can be done with making God the center of your motives versus making it yourself and making it self-centered, which can easily be. That being said, I'm gonna wrap up this video and just a few take-home points. This will involve me continuing to do check-ins with myself and think, am I starting to become self-centered, or am I still making this sport God-centered? Am I starting to become narcissistic and full of myself? Because obviously with the sport, you're going to look better. Like, that is the point of the sport, to progress your physique. Am I focusing too much on my looks versus, just being able to get strong and be able to move my body and be able to appreciate what God gave me? So just constant reflections with myself and reviewing, what are my motives? What are my intentions? What is my why? If I get to a point in my life where I feel like I'm just competing for me, I want to be number one, I want to be first place, and it no longer becomes a God-centered sport, then I will resign as an athlete. However, I am going to be working on this, and I'll be sharing some of my journey with you guys. Please drop any questions you have. I hope this doesn't offend anybody. I don't love posting about politics, religion, and controversial topics, but it is something that I think is needed in this space because not enough people talk about competing, but also being a follower of Christ. And I hope that if I share my journey with you guys, it might motivate you to share yours, or it might maybe give you a different perspective on competing, or even just where your intentions are at. Because I do think at the end of the day, if you want to be a general good person and you don't follow any religion, following a sport that is very self-centered and making you more narcissistic isn't going to make you a better person at the end of the day. So I think finding a different why is very important, and it's going to keep you motivated to keep going. Okay, that is all I have for you guys, and probably a little more depth than you expected with this video. I hope it answered some questions. I hope it gave you some guidance if you're a Christian and you compete and you really just don't know what direction to go. I definitely would love for you to reach out to me, message me, follow me on Instagram at Samantha Runshaw, or follow me on my business site at Strength by Sammy. I'm more than happy to talk to you and share my own beliefs and listen to you as well. Next week, I will be back to all things competition. I leave for a 12-day trip to Greece. I'm in the middle of prep. I'll be 8 weeks out. Things are about to get crazy. I have tons of travel supplements I'm gonna share. I have tons of tips and tricks I'm gonna share with you guys. So stay tuned next week for that. I hope you gained something from today's episode. And if you don't already, please hit that subscribe button in the bottom right-hand corner. And thanks again for watching.